Contact!
How deep can you plunge into the darkness?
Through the dark veil of space, time.
I wish we could have joined you sooner.
This is Warp Chatter!
Time is short. There is much to be done.
The wait ends now.
All right, welcome back once again, ladies and gentlemen, to the Warp Chatter podcast. This is the podcast dedicated to talking about the Horus Heresy Legion digital card game, Horus Heresy lore, Warhammer 40,000, everything that encompasses. We've been doing this for 50 episodes now. This is the 50th episode. I don't think everybody who's on this call today realized that, but I did about 5 minutes ago. So this is not only... Yeah, this is not...
I was going to feel bad for not noticing, but it's not my fault.
No. This is not only the episode we're going to be talking about the Alpha Legion today, as well as the most recent balance patch for March, and some other little teases. I don't think we can dive too much into those because they're not officially out, but maybe we'll definitely be getting into those in depth next week.
By the time you hear this, it will already be out. I hope you're having fun with the new 4th year anniversary.
That's right. But not only are we doing all that, but it's also our 50th episode spectacular. So, with all that being said, I'm your host, Scuffy, and this is a podcast by players for players. We've been doing this podcast for 50 episodes, having a good time doing it. Met a lot of players across the world, across the country, across the wide space of time and the space-time continuum, and whatever you want it, whatever genre you're looking for, that's what we've crossed those boundaries. And we've got 2 more players to add to the list. Actually, we've only got 1 new player. Shaygoofin has been here before.
This is true.
And then we've got the Crab co-host Axel Manning.
Of course. Howdy, folks.
And joining us for the first time is Masterwalks. So, as I said, we're going to be talking about the Alpha Legion. They've had Masterwalks and Shaygoofin on the wait list to talk about the Alpha Legion for a long time. But as we've been doing these legions in order, it's taken a while to get to this point.
Finally... 50 episodes to get all the legions done.
That's
and
right.
That's not including the non-aligned or not legion aligned.
Yeah, those episodes are coming next. I mean, we've had episodes where we've talked about, updates, expansions, balance patches in between all that. So that's the thing about that. We've had 20 episodes where we've talked about the factions, 30 episodes where we haven't. And even those episodes that we've talked about factions, like some of them we've done balance patches as well as factions. That's a lot. That's actually, we're not just thinking about 30 and 20. That's a lot of numbers. So, hey, you know what? I hope that the 200 people, it's close to 300 sometimes, 500 to 700 if we have Mr. Everguild on. I hope the people who have listened throughout the time or just dropped in occasionally for an episode here and there have appreciated it, because we've appreciated you.
You put up with us. You put up with my lispy voice.
Now, all that being said, let's meet the players.
Of course.
Let's start with you. Shay, you've been on before, so tell us about yourself.
Yeah, I was on, I think, 43 episodes ago for deck building. I'm in Fragile Art, where I am, I guess, the second in command. I've been playing the game on and off since the beta, but I've been playing on for the last 2 years. And, I used to play ladder, now I play casually in events, and I enjoy this game immensely.
And fellow Miodmeister as well.
Absolutely.
It's a small...
Built off yogurt.
Yes, mango yogurt.
Mango yogurt.
It gives you power.
It did 3 times.
All right. Masterwalks, tell us about yourself.
Yeah, so I got into Warhammer itself. I mean, I'm pretty new to both of these. So I got into Warhammer probably 2 years ago, right before the pandemic hit. And I've been playing Horus Heresy Legions for the last year or so. I played it a little bit a long time ago before I even got into Warhammer. But it's been about a year since playing. And I got into playing it because I don't play tabletop. I paint the models and I do the lore, but I needed some way to interact with it. So Legions has kind of filled that gap.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, that's a good way to do it, because I got into this. I was like okay in the 40k. I didn't really know about the heresy. This really got me into the heresy. I feel like this is a good like entry game for people.
Yeah. I'm in the same boat. So this game for me really introduced me to the heresy. Like obviously, playing 40k, you know the heresy's a thing. Yeah. But it's like okay, whatever. It's just a little prequel prologue to the actual 40k. After playing this game and getting into the heresy, I actually think the lore is better in 30k than 40k by a lot.
I would 100% agree on that. Yeah,
it helps because 30k has a beginning, middle, and end. We don't know what the end is for 40k, so kind of like all over the place.
Well, I think
we're also not retconning 30k crazy every few years.
Well, 30k also, they both have their bad retcon. 30k is known for it. I want to bring back the good days where Horus ripped off both of the Emperor's arms during their fight.
You might
so he's an armless skeleton. He's an armless skeleton. Bring back armless skeleton.
We might still get that. You never know. But no, I agree that the 30k lore is better fleshed out. I think for a lot of reasons. I think one of the biggest aspects really is, 40k was just initially when it started was just stories to kind of build up the rogue trader concept and the armies and the races and stuff got published and they had a retcon. And some of it is really super janky. CS:GO is a shining example of some of it. But
Dan Abbott is really fucking good.
Dan Abbott's really good, and what they did specifically when they were going to do the Horus Heresy saga is they specifically wanted their best, wanted the best stuff to work on, and they weren't sure how well it was going to be. I don't know if they initially set out to do the entire series or just do the first 3 books and see how it took off. So they did. I don't know how they picked Ben Counter for that.
Ben Counter.
Somehow that SOB got picked, but thankfully they stopped picking him somewhere along the way.
Look back at the last 3 episodes for our hatred of Ben Counter.
Yes, it's an ongoing series at this point. We're just gonna have flashbacks.
It's our reoccurring villain.
It's true.
We have another option, but we don't want to talk about it.
That will break the walls of the Ayatir Studios.
We can't talk about Batboard.
No.
You can't talk about Matt Ward.
No!
He did it!
I said it! I'm crazy! I did it! I'll do it again! Matt Ward, baby!
And he's doomed us all.
Breaking the wards as we speak.
Look, all I'm going to say is Matt Ward's rules are terrible, but his fluff is fantastic. Like, Coronate Knights is such a good story that should have been kept in the lore. And they got rid of it.
I gotta say, sure, some of it, but a lot of it involves toilet seat covers that do things that shouldn't be possible. It's on level with CS:GO's backflipping Terminators.
Multi-lasers, baby.
Multi-laser.
You gotta love the multi-lasers.
And Eldar tanks breaking from rocks, like actual pebbles.
See, at Masterwalks, you're stepping into this kind of fresh, diving into lore. And with, like I said, like the 30k lore is... It's polished because it's newer in publication, and I think there was much more of a deliberate what do we write about, what do we include, who's doing it, versus the 40k where and really 40k there is no massive timeline. The whole point was every story in 40k up until the last 5 years, every story that was being published could be taking place at the same time because. Who cares? Everybody's fighting. There is only war. Yeah. It doesn't matter. Everybody dies, blah, blah, blah. Whereas 30K, you have certain characters that go from point A to point B, and you have to explain that, and you have to explain their journey, and whether it is a journey of corruption and mutation and basically falling to the dark side or, giving to chaos, or it's a story of redemption, or it's a story of, honor, and obviously brother versus brother. So some of those, past stories, past authors, past dark things that are more 40k you've not been privy to. And I mean, from the sounds of it, it sounds like that's been enjoyable to you, which is good.
Yeah.
For sure. I have read some 40k books and not just 30k, but I do feel like the best 40k books are ones that build off what has already been established in 30k. For example, the Night Lord's Omnibus. It's fantastic.
Well, you got to remember too that I think 40K as a series started in like late 30K as a series started in late 2000. So it's kind of like the Star Wars series where we started at the middle point, went back to the beginning.
But this time the prequels don't suck. I think it's good.
Yeah, well, that's the difference around here. The prequels are good.
Yeah.
And the Crab co-host is just going to say his normal spiel, and if you need access to all of the Horus Heresy books, I may know where to get them legally. Mind you, crab laws work different than other laws, so...
Crab power. Right on, buddy.
Crab power. But yeah, the Horus Heresy saga is... Yeah, it's more in depth. I mean, and there like you said, like the Night Lord's Omnibus, that's written by Aaron Dembski-Bowden, who has
another great author,
another solid author, and he wasn't the only author to write for the Night Lords, but in the 30K setting, he really is the one that's kind of been like, Sevatar is his to run and play with. Kurz has got things to be done, but I think he really dove into that with the Night Lords, and I don't know if he was writing the omnibus simultaneously, but he's got just a great style, and the books that he's done in 40K are some of the best. And I think, like, if you haven't read The First Heretic, that's a great story. It's one of my favorites just because of the way it turns my perspective of the word bearers on its head. The Emperor of Mankind is another fabulous book. Just good stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think ADV totally deserves the title of like the Trader Marine author.
Mm-hmm.
He writes.
He does really good. There's some authors I'll always read something and enjoy. Him, Dan Abbott, they're both up there.
Like for me, my preferred Trader Marine author, and I know Scuff doesn't like this author too much, I don't think, but I like Gav Thorpe. And he's, for me, the Trader Marine author because he's written such good Dark Angels books that I enjoy them.
I it's not that I dislike Gav Thorpe. I really like some of his stuff, but when he goes into cliche mode, it feels like that's all he does is cliche, and it really hurts. Like his Dark Angel stuff, I don't like because everything he does is just cliche Dark Angels, But Last Chancers is one of my favorite books that he's written. Like the whole Last Chancers series, he writes them very well.
It was split into two parts. So you have this interrogation of Mayor Astalin in 40K.
Yep.
And then you've got this mission that happens after the fact with the same Marines who were doing the interrogation. And the one line I really liked from that book was that Mayor was explaining to the interrogator, why they turned on Lionel Johnson or why they felt justified in doing that. And they were saying, and Mayor says to the chaplain, he's like, "Why? How do you explain Lionel Johnson, the ultimate tactician, arriving late to Terra?" And he's like, he was waiting to see who lost.
Yep.
Right. And that line just killed it for me. Like the Dark Angels are traitors, man. I swear to God.
That was Fallen Angels is the book, I believe. That was a really good Dark Angels.
Well, we now know the actual reason why they're late to Terra, but it's still pretty stupid. Dark Angels. Those are one of the legions I love to hate, but I also really like because they're obsessed with plasma guns, and plasma guns are one of my favorite parts in 40K because of the many models people have made of just skeletons holding plasma guns.
I remember.
I hate playing Dark Angels on tabletop. Like I play Custodes. And before they got the 9th edition supplement, they're really broken now. But when I was playing the 8th edition supplement in earlier 9th edition, my Terminators, which would cost my Alaris Custodian Terminators, which would cost 75 points, would just get bodied by these 40-point Deathwing. And it's just like, holy goodness, they're crazy. And now the Custodians are the most broken faction in the game, so I can't complain anymore.
That feels proper balance. And speaking of balance... I mean, really quickly. I mean, because honestly, I'd rather spend way more time talking about the Elf Legion. I think they deserve that. This balance patch was not a huge balance patch, but I feel like we got to talk about it because I don't know if we're ever going to have enough time to. And by the time we do, so the balance patch came out. I'm just going to go through the list here because it's really short. It covers some missions. It covers one card from a few factions, and then just get everybody's takes on it. And I think the takes from what I've heard and from what I've talked with people, I think we're all going to have the same take, but hopefully we can put it in a collective voice. So, for the Imperial Fists, Rogel Dorn's Reckoning went down 5 points, went from 30 to 25. That's it. Nothing else was changed about it. Stone Gauntlet had its cost lowered from 4 to 3. That is something that he generates once he's in his Reckoning form. The Sons of Dorn mission becomes start your turn with Astartes with Frontline and play 4 times instead of 5. And Resolve of Stone now gives Frontline and Bastion 6 to a friendly unit instead of Bastion 4 for the same cost. Sons of Horus. Targost had his health lowered from 7 to 6. Muster for Lupercal had the number of Abacal squads it puts in play dropped by 1, so instead of 6 you get 5. Blood Angels. Their Sons of Baal mission requirement went from 5 to 4, so you still need troops to trigger Requiem 4 times. Troops to trigger Requiem. Grieving Pain, the benefit now, though, also in addition to doubling your Requiem triggers, gives Survivor 5 to your Warlord. Raven Guard had the Shadow Killer's tactic increased to 6 instead of 5. Wordbearer's Blessed Sun for Argel Tal now is reduced by 3 every time he kills a unit, as opposed to reduced by 2, so he can hit his ROM transformation faster, or for cheaper. Magistus Avon for the Thousand Sun had his ability lowered to just 1 psychic energy, where it was costing 2 just to look at a card and copy it from the opponent's hand. The Imperial Army, they changed the Displaced Civilians from a 0-cost card to a 1-cost card. The Mechanicum gave Tacticus Proctor the ability for 2 energy instead of 1. Instead of 1 to put in 1 servo automata, now he puts in 2 for 2. And Chaos Spawn gained reduced maintenance of a friendly demon by 2.
Now, I think the key part we can all focus on here is Chaos Spawn getting some love. But I want to point out Dorn. The only good part about the Dorn change is there's a chance a Dorn Crucible can actually happen now. Because before we didn't run Dorn Crucible because he's an actual joke. Now at 3 energy he can actually use the Stone Gauntlet. For the folks at home, Crucibles being the bosses that mods can run, we have one of Dorn where he starts his Reckoning form, but he can't play Stone Gauntlet till 4 energy, and even then he doesn't want to play it on curve because he doesn't have troops, so you fill up your hand with Stone Gauntlets and then you die because you have no cards. This is the life of Dorn. Yeah, Chaos Spawn got love.
I played around with Rogel Dorn as soon as this change came out, and I will say that I was actually able to pop off his Reckoning with the reduction, but it's not that big of a change.
Did
really.
you win?
After popping, I mean, honestly, so even once he transforms, he's still not that great. I mean, he's not.
No.
You still have to have a fat board on the field with Bastion on a lot of them for even the Stone Gauntlets to be beneficial. And
Dorn's Reckoning is a big win more. If you're winning, win more. If you're losing, lose.
Yeah, it's a great
if you're losing, you won't even get the Reckoning. That's how bad it is.
No. Oh, of course. But I mean, like if you're on the back foot and you trigger it, you're just going to keep falling backwards. It's not going to save you, which is a shame because I like Dorn as a Primarch. As a character, as an in-game thing, it hurts me so.
I think the only other one I've messed around with, I messed around with Blood Angels and Imperial Army. I actually played against a Raldoron mission deck right before we hopped on this call. I was running an Exodus deck, and the Survivor actually won him the game. The Survivor alone, because I wasn't able to shoot him with Exodus when I was supposed to. But I mean, I've only played against it once so far. And then the Displaced Civilians I'm upset about it, but we're okay.
I think Displaced Civilians needed to get a bit of a nerf because it's a little too good. Still a little unfortunate. I think Chaos Spawn getting that change though, that's a real treasure in my eye because Kazdrak and Spawn now is a beautiful combination. Wait, does this mean we don't need Lord of Flies anymore? Because we finally have someone who reduces demons? I mean, it's not completely...
We had Ingersoll, though.
We have Ingersoll, but this is a nice 2. What's Ingersoll? Is she 1 or 2?
She's 2.
Oh, she's 2 as well? But Chaos Spawn is a good Chaos Boy. I like him more than Ingersoll.
I mean, overall, the balance patch really brings 2 conclusions for me. The first is that it's nice to see Everguild buff stuff that's really not getting played. In particular, I like to see Argyle getting so much love recently because he's been overshadowed by Rom since day one, despite
This
being
love
quite
still
good.
means nothing. This love still means nothing for him, so that breaks my heart.
I mean, fair enough, but I do like to see the effort. I like to see the buff to him on because you never see him. The buff to spawn, like you said, is quite nice. Tacitus Proctor. I haven't seen him played yet. I don't want to play him, but it's nice to see that they haven't given up on him. And then on the reverse end, you've got the powerful stuff getting nerfed. I don't get it. Sons of Horus in particular, the changes both feel redundant. Like Turgos at 6 health is still crazy value. And Muster Firm deploying only 5 troops might actually be a buff in a way.
You don't lose a troop because there was a point where you were often losing that 6-1 or even 2 at the time. So I guess you're losing less.
Because there were a few fringe counters to Muster of Lupercal that really punished the full board. The Ultramarines had Captain Mysander, which would completely trash the play. There was Silent Death, which you could use. I don't know if a lot of people did that, but you could do that. Cards like Nostromo, anything that could shut that board down for a turn would really punish Muster. And now the opponent can still play a big troop in that 6th slot, unless they already had something there. But again, even at 5 troops on the board, if you follow it up with Frontal, and your opponent can't deal with it, that's still 30 damage, and that's going to be enough for the Sons of Horus to kill you at 8 energy. No problem at all. So the change just doesn't feel worth it. Shadow Killers, okay.
This entire update was pretty just didn't matter.
It really didn't.
That's a general consensus.
I'd like to know your guys' opinion on what if they remove Targos drop pod? Would that balance him a lot better?
That's what I would have preferred.
He would die very quick. I'm not saying it's a bad thing, but he would die very quick.
Because still, at 5/7, if he sticks around, he's going to get work done. Like, the drop pod forces you to take multiple actions unless you hard remove him.
Yeah.
But still, 1 health, like, okay, fine. But the drop pod is really strong on that fat body at 5 energy.
It's essentially a shield.
Okay, well, so collectively, I think it's a meh for the balance patch. Underwhelming might be another good word for it. I think some things it hit where it's nice to see some buffs. Like, you can't argue that some things minor buffs were done, but like Tacitus Proctor does, honestly, it's the exact same play as he was before. The difference is it's 1 energy, but he puts out 2 more. It's still not a great ability late game, but if you get it steamrolling early, it's very productive. I haven't changed my Proctor deck at all, except to include 1 additional technical servitors, because I find that is a turn 1 play that your opponent is really frustrated. They have to kill it. They either have to kill a servitor, or they have to kill one of the automata. If they're Shabran Dar, they don't have to worry as much, but otherwise they're not in a good spot. And then you follow it up the next turn with the 3/3 frontline, or 2 more automata, or drop a free vehicle if they didn't kill the servitors. But ranking wise, out of 10, 1 through 10, 10 being the highest, how would you guys rate this balance patch?
3.
I respect that they gave Argyle some living. It's not going to do much, but it happened. So I'll go 4 simply out of merit, seeing Argyle tall buff. And Chaos spawn. Chaos got some touching. That's nice.
So I heard a 3 from Shay. How about you, Master?
Oh, yeah, it's a 3 or 4.
All right.
I think that's fair. I'm going to go with a 4 as well. Only because there were buffs to things that, need it, but it wasn't significant. And I feel like the nerfs did nothing. And, I mean, like you said, the Muster for Lupercal and, Frontal Assault, you lose 1 body, but typically you had lost 1 body anyways. Doesn't do anything with Targos. I think a week later now, we're still seeing Raven Guard and Sons of Horus play just the same as they were before. So it literally has done nothing.
Like, balance patches are done at the competitive end. Like, that's what influences the balance patches. So if you don't see anything in the competitive scene, it gets buffed. If you see it a lot, it gets nerfed. So from that perspective, this doesn't change the competitive scene at all. I'm glad we got some buffs, but I can't go higher than 3. Like
Yeah.
it's a terrible, it's a meh patch.
I've seen some minor changes for the Raven Guard where players have fucked up like a combo simply because it's one more, but it's so easy to play around that. You just got to remember that it's one more.
Yeah.
That being Shadow Killers being 6 now. At least, yeah, that's the card that went to 6,
Yeah,
right?
yep, Shadow Killers.
Yeah, it doesn't change anything. I hope when we get our big monthly patch, which obviously ain't happening this month simply because we're having the 4th anniversary, it's going to be substantial.
I have to.
Or maybe the 4th anniversary is going to come with something.
Yeah, I have to hope that because the last month was kind of underwhelming with Custodes, even though it was a very large buffer or change to Custodes, it really didn't feel like it was much. So I'd like to see something for April, besides Alfarius in the shop on April 1st. Speaking of Alfarius in the shop, April 1st, it's time to really get to the meat and potatoes of the rest of the episode today, the Alpha Legion. We're going to be talking about the Alpha Legion. And right before we got on the call here, I remembered that I had done a song way back when that I don't know if I ever officially debuted, and I now have a reason to do so. So I'm gonna put this up in the chat for you guys, and we can listen along at the same time. And this will be a Warp Chatter debut 50th episode spectacular, and you guys can tell me what you think.
Every time we connect to the song, I always heard it all over at the end of the day.
We are Legion.
God, I've heard this beat.
This is a song about.
Where have I heard this beat before?
I've never seen my Primarch's true face.
God damn it.
Cut off the head and grow 2 more at the Hydra.
Boy.
This is Lord?
And I know a secret play. This is a Lord parody. In a stun.
It's even better than Lord.
Then play one of many.
It's
But it returns like false flag. Make a trap, infiltration in the deck, secret order, stun lock, master in the Ingle pack. We don't care.
We need our upset Axel counter.
Do what you must to win. We could be Dynad or Exodus. What's the secret identity? Pale spear like Tishio. Play her Tato Bronzy. We don't care. I am not who you think I am. Cause we're all Alfarius. Doesn't matter who the warlord is. Head of the Hydra, every one of us, because we're all Alfarius.
I gotta ask, how long did this take
to record?
To prepare and then record.
Writing took a while. I think it took me about a week to write. And now play that.
Oh shit!
And recording was usually a good 2 day, getting everything right. I have got a code. Getting the background.
I gotta give you credit.
It's better. The audio came out better than my
Magnus
song. Plenty.
And no matter what, it came better than our Christmas carols.
Oh yes, yeah, the Christmas carols were worse. We're just
but they're the best.
It's memorable. That might be the best. So many. But every turn's like false flag. Make a trap, infiltration in the deck, secret order, stun lock, mastering the Ingle pack. We don't care. You do what you must.
And then so
we could be Dynad or
we gotta read it off of the sheet.
Listen to the beat.
Tishio,
that's not really playing.
We don't
and then
care.
re-edit the beat in.
I'm not who you think.
That takes more time than work.
Because we're all Alfarius. Just committed. Doesn't matter who the warlord is. Head of the Hydra, every one of us. Because we're all Alfarius. You could be my instrument. You can call it straight cheese, and brother, you'll draw. 50th anniversary, boys. Heroin.
That's right. Spectacular.
Ooh, yeah.
Score on 9 energy, and I'll play the card Warp Retreat. Ooh.
I'm more impressed with the entire song.
Playing games.
It's not like a snippet. It's not like a half of it.
Oh, you
the entire.
Sit and stare. Because we're all Alfarius. Doesn't matter who the warlord is.
Double down, not all.
Head of the Hydra, every one of us. Because we're all Alfarius. You could be my instrument. You can call it straight cheese, and brother, you'll draw.
God damn it.
And I'll play that heroin.
There you go.
There you go.
It was good strategic advice in there too. Like, play one of many. Play Secret Orders.
That's right.
Man, I was getting such a feedback loop because I could hear my music from a room earlier or over. I could hear the music that just plays in my house from another couple rooms over, and I got that. I was being serenaded.
You play that, and you play Lord at the same time. You tell me which one's better.
I've heard the Lord song. I know how bad it is.
Yeah.
Both inflicted.
That was quality.
I heard.
So, with that intro, with that 50th episode, spectacular intro, world debut. Let's talk about the Alpha Legion, guys. As far as the Alpha Legion goes, they're actually one of the top legions that I was really interested to learn about in the Heresy, because in 40K they were specifically, they were very ambiguous. They were very, they were chaos, but there wasn't a whole lot about them other than they were the only legion that was not in the Eye of Terror, that they operated outside the Eye of Terror. They were chaos undivided. That was kind of it. They were, Alfarius had been killed by Robo Gilliman, possibly, but he wasn't 100% sure. There was these kind of vague things, but that's really all there was to the lore. And I always was thinking, like, if I played Chaos, what would I play? I'm like, well, Alpha Legion isn't like hardcore dedicated to one of the four gods. Maybe I would do Alpha Legion. And then when they did the lore, when the first book, Legion, which I believe was book 5, maybe book 6. No, I think it was book 6 or 7, because Fulgrim was book 5. That was an amazing story in terms of setting up like how the Legion operates with their operatives and their various spy networks, and then at the same time it put everything on its head in terms of questioning the loyalty of the Alpha Legion as well as their motives. And their war cry for the Emperor is actually still their war cry in the 41st millennium, which initially, like the old books, the old Codex Astartes, it was supposed to like confuse the enemies of the Emperor. And maybe it is, but at the same time, maybe it's not. Maybe that is legitimately their motives. And every story that has involved the Alpha Legion in the Horus Heresy series has continued to kind of build upon that just level of like, do you really know what they're doing? Do you understand what they're doing? What are their motives? What is their loyalty? And at the same time, they've got their fingers and spies and everything, almost to Malkador, the Sigilate levels, as far as that goes. And I guess from the recent Alfarius book, he learned a lot from Malkador, which makes a lot of sense. So, as a faction added to the game, it's really the first faction that was added that really gave a control style in terms of manipulation, card draw, playing with the opponent's hand, reducing their energy cost. A lot of these concepts, the original Saboteur Squad lowered the enemy's energy by 1, which is what Desolated Ground does, but that card didn't exist before. So it really it really offered up a lot of interesting play styles and punishing people for just trying to, and they had to struggle to get through the game while you are, doing secret orders, putting traps, stunning everything, because you can't, you don't get to do what you want to do because you're facing the Alpha Legion. I thought that was really executed well, and for the longest time, they held up their own. Where they're at now, I won't say it's too stale. I think the new cards that have been added in Galaxy and Flames have been pretty nice, adding some can't attack options, adding some troops that start in stealth that give some very nice stuff, some new operatives, which is always enjoyable. We don't have the 5th Warlord yet, but I'm hopeful that it will be that Sheed Ranko.
Yeah, he was fun.
Yeah, he was really fun.
He was fun.
So, as a whole, I enjoy the Legion, but I want to talk about the Legion, get your guys' takes and thoughts on it.
I think they're a good Legion. Like, traps are a very inconsistent playstyle, so if anyone who weans themselves off of those, they'll find that they're a really consistent just faction in general, because they got burn damage, they got plenty of stun, like you're saying. Almost all their bodies are properly statted, and even some that are properly statted just get better over time. Like Serpent Squad, I think, is a 6/6 for 6 that just gains 1/1 on a tactic play.
Mm-hmm.
Compare it to like Old Enhanced Warrior or something like that. Like Ghost Legionary, they're just They're a good, solid faction with good wide, good stun. I really like playing them. Secret Orders are a lot of fun. Ingopek's one of my favorite warlords. Yeah, if we got cheap, I'd probably go back to maining Alpha Legion.
I think their heal is often overlooked. I mean, with the right RNG, you can do a 25 heal in 2 turns for 25.
Oh yeah,
and I don't think a lot of people really focus on that and how much healing you can actually do, especially late game, and how big of a difference that can make.
It used to actually even be more because when they first came out, one of many I think healed 5 to regardless of like to what your health was. So like if you were 35 hit point warlord and you played your secret identity, you'd heal 5. Then you could play one of many, and you would get the identity of that personality that one of many created in the same turn. So you could one of many get Alfarius and play the Alfarius and heal 10 in that turn as opposed to 2 turns where they broke it up. So yeah, the healing portion of what they've got, like you can have a Alpha Legion you think on the brink, and in 2 turns with the right one of many, not only have they healed, but maybe they've ghosted out of your sights with Exodus into stealth.
From my perspective, the Alpha, this is a bit of a hot take. The Alpha Legion, from my perspective, is without a doubt the best designed Legion in the game, by far, for 2 reasons. Looking at the pool, you really see 4, maybe 5 decks, come out from what's available. Whereas with other legions, like the Sons of Horus, before the mission came out, there was basically 1.5 deck for the Sons of Horus. There's Burn Horus, or there's Burn Sons of Horus, and then there's Whispers Horus.
But the strongest of them.
Yeah, like Burn is it's 1.5 deck because
not Burn. I mean the Whispers, the strongest Whispers in the game.
Fair enough.
Call back to our Q&A.
But no, like you got traps. You can go. I'm not saying it's good to go traps, but you can go traps. You can go orders. You can go standard control. You can focus on troops or tactics. Before the Pale Spear got changed, that was its own deck. Mm-hmm. And each of these 5 decks has, including traps, has had competitive success at some point or another. Whereas the other legions, I don't think they can say that.
Well, no, I'd say traps even work too, because during certain metas where it's simply built around drawing out your entire deck, putting traps in there really stopped them.
Well, absolutely.
Like, traps were a good counter to DD and Warp Retreat.
Any Warp Retreat deck was completely trashed by traps. The second reason the Alpha Legion is the best designed Legion is because it's the closest we have to really playing on your opponent's turn. The way the game is structured, it's your turn, my turn, and you can counter what your opponent's doing on your turn. But the Alpha Legion is really the only opportunity you have to stop your opponent on their turn.
Nothing feels better than a good Secret Order going off, like the
exactly. Be it Gamma, be it Alpha, or even Omega. And then Delta, too. If they don't attack and they get Delta, they're going to feel pretty bad. Mm-hmm. And it's a satisfying thing to happen. But no, I absolutely love the Alpha Legion. I know they're not... I know a lot of people get upset when they play against the Alpha Legion. I know people find them annoying and frustrating. But from a design perspective, I think they're the best.
Yeah, I feel like the people who get upset about playing against the Alpha Legion, and granted, first few months, people were getting upset playing against the Alpha Legion because, they stun you every turn. And you have Saboteur Squad, and by the time you can play something, your hand is 9 up, and you've got 4 energy or whatever. That has gone away. I think the people that get upset about playing Alpha Legion now just don't like playing traps. And I have always been an advocate of do not play traps. # don't play traps. That's been my motto. I prefer Secret Orders. I recognize that traps have had a place, especially when like Double D and Warp Retreat was a thing. I was like, man, I hate to say it, but I mean that's an option. You can counter it with those 2.
It was a good anti-meta pick.
Yeah, and that's the truth. But otherwise, I feel like it is number one, completely uninteractive in terms of the game.
Oh, 100%.
Playing your turn and on opponent's turn. And number 2, it is like if you're just sitting there when the things go off, you're like, this isn't fun. This isn't the game we sat down to play. Is it a thing? Yes, it's an option. It's how they play. But aside from that, I do agree. I think that they do have that. They have that one thing that maybe, with the exception of a snippet of like Agents of the Sigilate with the Malkador, and maybe an exception with the Dark Angels and their quest mechanic, really, they're the ones who can actually, in a way, respond, or at the very least, force your opponent to consider how they play their turn around your game plan, not necessarily around the game plan they want to play.
Yeah, I just want to borrow from Kobalton here, who's a Trader's End player, highly skilled player, and him and I discussed the Alpha Legion a long time ago. We were talking about why people found the Alpha Legion so annoying, and he was referencing a different card game. I don't know what one it was. I want to say Magic the Gathering. But in this other card game, there were these two factions, one of which would increase its armor penetration value on its attacks or whatever, and the other faction would reduce the armor of its opponents. So substantively, they're doing the same thing. They're increasing their ability to deal with the armor of the opponent, but people would find the faction that lowered the opponent's armor to be more annoying because people don't like it when their stuff gets messed with.
Yeah.
Like in this game too, the Alpha Legion, they're doing everything they can to stop your game plan from going off. The inverse of that is a faction that can't be stopped in performing its game plan. Like no matter what you do, it's very difficult to interrupt it. It's difficult to get in the way of it. That's the inverse of the Alpha Legion, and people typically find that that latter deck far less annoying to play against. You know, the deck that can do what it wants is less annoying to play than the deck that stops other people from doing what they want. Even though substantively they're doing pretty much the same thing, just in different ways. So I think the frustration with the Alpha Legion is misplaced, and it's more of a psychological thing than a balance thing, air quotes, that people like to make it out to be.
I still think a lot of it is simply, a lot of people, whenever they go, oh man, I hate Alpha Legion, what they mean is, oh man, I hate traps. Because 90% of the people complaining, they're always like, oh, those one energy traps, they're just slot machines. They're terribly designed, but besides that, they're not a big deal.
Oh yeah, I was going to say, I mean, like, if you know how to play, like, you see an Alpha Legion, and they start doing traps, you just throw everything you can, and hit them hard and hit them fast. It doesn't matter what deck, like, there are, like, maybe, like, a handful of decks that are sad because of that, because they want to sit back and do the build up, the control, or whatever, like, and even then, if you know that you're facing out, like, it just makes you dump your stuff earlier, so that way you can get more cards from when the traps do trigger, if they do trigger. Like, it's so easy to play around, it's ridiculous, and really all you're doing is flipping a coin, hoping that something does go off, and the opponent is at the same time hoping that it does go off, and if it doesn't flip to what they want, their whole game plan is shot. So yeah, it's frustrating. Like I said, I can see people being frustrated about traps, but the rest of the Alpha Legion, not so much.
Yeah. The funny thing too about traps, I think you said it the best in your trap video, Scuff, but it isn't just RNG. It's having the RNG pop off at the right time. Like when you're putting the traps in the deck, you know, oh, I put the trap in the deck. You don't want your opponent to draw at turn 2, 3, 4. And you don't want him to draw at turn 10, 11, or 12. Like you want him to draw it somewhere in the middle. So you have to hope for the RNG to go off in the middle of the game, hopefully. And that just adds another layer of it just doesn't work. In preparation for this podcast, I was playing Alpha Legion myself, and I was playing Pale Spear Peck for fun, and I ran into Mortem, and he was playing traps, and he put like 25 traps in my deck, and I did not draw them. I had like 29 cards at the end.
Oh my god!
I just didn't draw them. It was ridiculous, and and that's just how it goes. Like traps, they can screw you.
They're a slot machine mechanic, and they're not only inconsistent, but for the only counterplay is don't draw, which, and besides the fact that Alpha Legion have several ways to force a draw, the only faction in the entire game that has a choice to just not draw is Custodes.
Yes.
So there's no counterplay to traps besides praying, and that's just not good for a card game.
I will say that EG seems to know that traps are terrible, because with the exception of arguably the mission, which I really wouldn't want to play in a trap deck anyway, because you're not going to be able to stop people attacking you and spam traps. Mm-hmm. And if you start playing traps, they're going to hit you anyway. So I wouldn't play the mission in a trap deck. But the mission still creates the traps. With the exception of the mission, maybe, it's nice to see that there really wasn't a whole lot of, or really any trap support added with the expansion. I think it's nice to see that they've moved away from that with the Alpha Legion and focus on the control side of it.
Well, the focus of the expansion was to buff up the parts where they were lacking. You can look at several legions where that's very not true, but Alpha Legion is one of the good examples of, yeah, they got some nice.
Yeah, and I feel like the stuff that they got, like, it really enhanced the options to play secret orders. Throwing down a can't attack on stuff so that you can stick a secret order on them longer, or making a penalty where if you attack, your warlord takes damage. Like, they got some stuff there that isn't quite just stun, draw cards, but more like, I'm going to mess with your board to give my tools and infiltration stuff more viable approach. And I think if we get Shaygoofin able to span some Myrmidons or some sleeper operatives, we could really see some interesting decks.
Do you guys feel the way Shaygoofin was released in the event would not be a little overpowered if he was released the exact same way, just into the base game?
I wouldn't say overpowered. He would definitely be strong, but even then, there is counterplay. The biggest issue I would have with him is just a consistent 1 damage across the board, but even then, he's spending 4 energy to do it.
Yeah,
I'm pretty sure his ability is 2 energy to fish, right?
Right, it's 2 energy to create 1 of 3.
Yeah.
I thought about that, and I think, if you play him smart and he drops like 3 operatives, 3 sleeper operatives on your opponent's turn, and you've got some card draw happening, you start taking 3 damage plus. That is pretty powerful, but that's given up a lot early game for him to create those and hold those in hand. And also, we've seen since he was in the event, I think we saw changes to Lactitio Divinatus, increasing the cost of that, which has always been a very big tool that the Alpha Legion would always use, especially when they're doing traps or draw, like that 1 energy pinch. Now you're drawing, but make it to cost 2 energy. I don't know if it's as attractive or as combo-y. I think he could be powerful, having a potential answer for a variety of circumstances, or at the very least, like being able to throw down a sleeper operative and always make Angron a 2 attack, basically. That's kind of interesting. Mm-hmm. But I don't know if I would say he's overpowered. And I don't know if they change him.
I do. I actually do see, I think what Masterwalks might be getting at is that that's being able to make some of these operatives really shuts down a lot of opponents quite easily. Like, I wouldn't even use Sleeper Operative against Angron. I would use the other guy that does 2 damage when you attack.
Yeah.
But like the Covert Operative would do a lot of damage to Defenders of Caliban, for example, almost just completely destroy them. And you can make them on demand. I could see them making the ability cost 1 or maybe even 0 to generate a random 1 of the 3. Maybe.
I would be fine if the ones he generated instead of costing 1, because 2 of them cost 1, 1 of them cost 2. They just all cost 2 flat. Because then he's spending 4 energy to put them, which, he could build them up over time and drop them all. But, if you use the ability 2 times in a row, next turn for 2 energy, he's going to drop 2 on your board.
If it was a 2 energy ability, he'd have to increase their health by 1, which I actually think would be maybe a buff. If Myrmidon and Sleeper were there sticking for an extra turn, potentially. I don't know.
Oh, definitely the Covert Operative, because what is Covert Operative, right? The 1/2 guy.
Yeah.
That does 1 damage to the board. He's only got 2 health.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, that's not Covert Operative. That's
cultist,
Deceived Cultist?
Yeah.
It's Cultist in quotation marks.
Oh, it is Deceived Cultist, that's right.
Yeah. He's not a real cultist.
He doesn't know he's not a real cultist.
He's the only cultist who isn't. He's like, listen, I'm not really a cultist. I'm here, I'm listening to what this guy's saying, but I'm not really buying it. I'm not drinking.
I think in this case he's no. I think this case he's down in the Kool-Aid bay. He has no idea who the fuck gave it to him. I think that's more accurate because this guy's just confused, but he's so down for it.
Go ahead, man.
If he got released, I think the Covert or not Covert Op, is that what it is? The Chaos guy that we were just talking about, the 1/2 that
the Deceived Cultist.
Yeah, the Deceived Cultist. I feel like he's going to be the one that's least often produced. He's really good against defenders, but for World Eaters, which can sometimes be an issue with Alpha Legion, you're going to spam Ms. Madra more often than not. or a Sleeper Operative. Sleeper Operative for just basically everything else. But yeah,
when the Deceive Cultist works really well, like when you want it, you got it on demand, and it's going to really wreck the Defenders of Caliban for 2 energy whenever you need it, right? Like that's going to be huge.
Are they going to wreck much of anything else?
No, but you have the choice of 3 as is, so you won't take it when you don't need it, but when you do need it or when you want it, it's going to do work. Yeah, and that on-demand choice is quite powerful. Like it's going to be interesting to see if they allow if they even add Sheed, and then if they allow Sheed to be the same for constructed.
People forget that 1 damage across the board is pretty damn good, because not only can those stack, but you can use them to finish off big threats that are just left with 1 HP.
So I think if you held on to several of them, 3 of them or so, and then dropped them all in 1 turn, I mean that's a great defense satellite. Mm-hmm. But that's a lot of work. That's 3 turns if you're not putting any in your deck to draw, just to create them.
Yeah, and there's a balance there too, because the Alpha Legion early game, typically, I mean, they're vulnerable for a bit. They get nice around 5 energy. Maybe 6 is like their optimal, because then they can start playing 2-ish cards, unless you're doing traps, and I'm not going to talk about traps. But their early game, typically, their 3-drop is a couple bodies to buy time that also set up for something, whether it is a 3/3 that can handle another troop on the board that your opponent's got to waste resources on, or now the one that's stealth that gives stun lock that now your opponent doesn't want to attack with things. You throw down a frontline Rhino, give yourself some, like that's kind of their setup moment from 2 energy to 5, 6 energy. And then from there, they're really playing with the tools that they've got in their hand and on the board. So if they're spending that time just making tools, they're leaving themselves vulnerable for those things that, your opponent is dropping troops. Now they've got Jubok. Sheed's not going to want to make operatives. Even if he makes a 1/2 that deals 1 damage, he's letting that Jubok work, which is never a bad thing as an Alpha Legion, because you're like, hey, put cards in your hands. Sure. But sometimes it comes back to bite you when they play, harrowing against you, or something else like that. So, I don't know. I think there is a balance there. I don't think it's anything on the same level. Like if we were to get that the Ultramarine Garad that was recently in events, I think that by comparison was much, much more powerful.
That was nuts.
Yeah,
like the operatives can get work done, but it's still just. It's, for the most part, you have to play into it. Like, you either ignore the cultist and take the 1 damage over and over again, which you won't do. You swing when you shouldn't, and you take the 2 damage from the Mize Marta. Or, you don't find a way to deal with Sleeper Operative. Sleeper Operative is probably the most disruptive one. But, no, but making Stellar Athan on demand is nuts, or Corvo, or Theon, or the Flanker. Like, that guy was crazy. There was no way. I mean, he wasn't going to win anyway because he was against Core, but there's no way that guy would have lasted very long as is in the competitive scene. No way.
He's too consistent for someone who's random.
Yeah.
The ultimate Astartes are good. Like, unless you generate 3 really low-cost Astartes every turn, you're going to be getting something that you can probably use.
Oh, yeah.
I'm glad he didn't get in. I kind of liked him in the event, but oh my goodness.
Yeah. With the Warlords, I mean, we're not 100% sure that we've got Sheed. Maybe we won't get him, but he really has been the only event Warlord besides the tank for the.
I so want the tank to start as an Alpha Legionnaire,
which we know won't happen, unfortunately.
But the tank the Alpha Legionnaire rips off his helmet to reveal a tank barrel is one of my favorite things that I wish happened.
That's 4th edition Council and Creed style stuff right there. Like, I'm just going to hide this Warhound Titan behind this bush.
That's a classic.
Missed potential.
I saw somebody take that episode from Key and Peele, and they put a Farius over it all. And it was great.
Yes.
That was classic.
Yes.
But as far as the Warlords go, I mean, I don't think we have to break them down. I think people know what Dynat and Ingopek and Exodus and Alfarius go. If we get Sheed, what would you say is your top Warlord, or how would you rank the Warlord options as the best?
Okay, so an actual best, I gotta just put Exodus at the top. I mean, 10 for 10. That's crazy. That's an orbital bombardment, but you actually choose what the fuck you want to hit. But from what I actually like to play, I gotta put Sheed one below Ingo Peck, simply because I only played him event. But I'm gonna go Ingo Peck, Sheed, Alfarius, Dynat, and then Exodus. I don't like playing Exodus because he's just I shoot you in the face and I hide. He's not fun to start as, in my opinion.
Oh, I would personally rank Sheed Renko one step above Peck, simply because there's two factions that Peck just doesn't work on. Well, I mean, one main faction, which is demons, and then vehicles, vehicle-based decks. Peck just doesn't work. But Sheed Renko will work with any matchup because of your three options. Even if you are playing against Custodies, you don't drop a Sleeper Operative, you drop, Ms. Madra or something else for whenever they want to do some Paragon Spear stuff. And same with Demons. I mean, some of them have the Rage or Bloodthirst or whatever. And so Ms. Madra will help you with that a lot. But Peck just has matchups where you don't transform into him, or you transform into him to draw a card. Yeah. And I think Sheed Renko will be around that.
In those matchups, I completely rely on the very consistent cards that the Alpha Legion have. Thank God for it, because if they had understated troops, that would hurt.
Yeah, I pretty well agree with Masterwalks here. Peck doesn't work against demons and vehicles, sure, but he also doesn't work against solo warlords. And he really doesn't work well against knights or anything that's low on troops. So there's a lot of matchups and decks that really that Peck just can't deal with.
Well, I want to specify that you got to also remember that one of many and their card pool. Card pool covers a lot of weaknesses.
It does, but if you want to lean into orders, there's going to be some matchups that it isn't going to help. It isn't going to work for you.
Most Ingo decks don't need to bring orders because he just makes them.
No, but that's what I'm saying. If I'm playing Ingo Peck, I'm going to be making orders. Otherwise, my warlord is just a 235. That doesn't do anything if I can't use the orders. Unless I want to do something crazy like play Pale Spear and then fill my hand up for Orbital Base, which doesn't really work anymore. But in terms of competitive, it's hard to argue that Exodus isn't the best warlord for the Alpha Legion. The one-turn stealth, the siege being what it is quite crazy. I prefer Alfarius more. I've played probably 800 games with Alfarius across, the two arts. But it would be Exodus, Alfarius. I would probably think Sheed would beat out Peck for the reasons Masterwalks just got into. And then distant last is Dynat. I can't stand Dynat. He's probably my least favorite warlord in the game. For sure.
I think I mentioned this in the Discord, but I think Dynat could be instantly fixed if he could stun the warlord.
No, that'd be too... Dynat's actually very good. He's just a 30 HP. I think stunning the warlord would be too much for him, because he performs fine right now. Mind you, fine isn't amazing, but I know a couple people running them.
Yeah, fine is not good compared to everybody else.
He's
not top dog, but I mean, I know plenty of people who run him no problem.
Yeah.
Even a season ago in High Terra.
I mean,
Dynat doing stun, when a Mon Tarmakian does stun for the Custodians, that's pretty substantial because they really don't have that. But Dynat doing stun is just we've already got tons of stun. We probably have too much stun already in the Alpha Legion. We don't need more.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas other legions like the Death Guard with Mortarion, I just mentioned them on. Stun where it's in short supply. Having that warlord to do that is quite good. But Dynat is just okay, I can spend 2 energy to do damage and stun, or I could play my Thunderhawk and stun 3 things. Sometimes it'll matter, but I'd rather have a warlord that did something completely different, that it actually did something proactive instead of the reactiveness that the Alpha Legion already has in abundance.
Yeah.
Dynat just isn't. And then Dynat also cucks one of many. A lot of the times. Oh man, I could really use Exodus here.
Right.
Or I could use the 5 heal from Alfarius. Oh, I got Dynat.
I think maybe if Dynat, instead of having the stun option, if he had, adds Maintenance 1 or Maintenance 2 until the end of next turn. That might be too powerful, though. But I mean, at the same time,
it might be.
At the same time, you could use that effectively, especially even against warlords. Hey, listen, you're going to be playing 1 energy behind against Dynat if he uses his ability the entire game. You can still attack.
Or they give him high initiative, but then they can't do that. They can't give him high initiative
they've all got medium, so
they have to because of the whole so you get anything.
Yeah,
so fair enough. But no, I don't know. A lot very few warlords in the game feel that way, where they just feel completely pointless to play. in the way that Dyna does. Like, I guess the closest I can think of is Tarek Torgadon or something. Like, why would you play him out of the other options? I just don't. Some people do. That's fine. And I'm sure people have had success doing that, but I don't see the point.
There are plenty of good matchups for Dynat. Dynat's it's slept on, kind of like, I wouldn't compare him to Margarine, but he's very similar in, I'm going to lock down your troop, so if you're troop-based, you're fucked. He's not good in this current meta, obviously, because it's based around stealth. But no, Dynat's actually pretty solid. He's just, got the problem of being a 30 HP. If his HP went up by 5, he would be amazing. It's just one of those scenarios.
Well, it's actually interesting that you bring up Modrum, because Modrum is so much better than Dynat. His ability works on the Warlord. He has that wicked good...
Well, yes, but that's if we take away entirety of card pools. Card pools are very important, because Dynat locking you down, but he's also got the entire wide range of stun and troops that the Alpha Legion have, is why Dynat's good.
Well, the thing with
it's not a bubble.
Is you're not transforming to Dynat turn 1. If you are, you're giving him 5 health.
Yeah. Like, unless my opponent plays Kaizu Lane and I have Dynat, which why would I have Dynat? I'm not transforming turn 1.
Yeah, but... Yeah. Dynat is better than people believe. He's still not played often. Though, like I said, there are some people who run him.
I'd still put him at the bottom, though. For me personally, I agree. Ingo Peck is my favorite, just because from day one, he was the first Alpha Legion Warlord I got. I love playing Secret Orders. I love decks that do that interaction, that cerebral gameplay. But I do think Sheed, as far as power goes, I think Sheed's got the most potential. Exodus can finish games, and if you've played it right, or your opponent hasn't played their end right, and there's no anti-stealth when you go into Exodus mode, you can pretty much lock a game. I like Alfarius. I've played Alfarius the most because he's a Primarch, and because why not? Regardless of whether or not I'm using his ability to draw or copy a card, I like playing Primarchs. That's one of the cool things about the game, is it lets you play those cool characters. And Alfarius, honestly, out of all the Primarchs, is the only really character that you get to see or hear about in the books. You don't really, there's a couple mentions of Peck and Dynat in different lore fluff. There's hardly anything of Sheed or Exodus that I've ever heard of. I mean, so the fact that Alfarius and Omegon are really kind of it when it comes to the Alpha Legion, and I can play them, that's the big draw for me. So that's why I play Alfarius more.
Well, if you look at some of the Dark Angels, most of those characters suck, so they need to have 10 characters to draw from. But the Alpha Legion is so cool, they can get it done with one guy playing as 2 people. And that's enough personality to fuel an entire legion. Whereas the line doesn't have personality. You need to have Nemiel and Corpswain and other cooler characters to supplement him. Whereas the Alpha Legion, they don't need that. The Primarchs are that cool.
Yeah.
Hot take number 2.
Alpha Legion better than Dark Angels.
We got more, baby. More loyal than Dark Angels.
Oh, snap.
Oh, God. Did it again.
He's throwing loyalty snaps in the Dark Angels.
I hate the Dark Angels so much.
Yeah, that's fair. I like the Dark Angels, but they kind of just exist. Like most of the legions, I like their 30k iterations more than their 40k. Because, I mean, most of the 40k interpretations of legions kind of just went off the deep end on stereotypes, which are fun. I love when they ham it up. Nothing like the new 40k animation that just got dropped, where it's the armoring of a space marine, and it's 4 minutes of chanting, 800 different machinery parts, and I love it because it's so over the top. But Space Wolves, for example, are just wolf, 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 wolf. And it hurts. It really does.
The Iron Hands are better in 40k than 30k. That's it.
Yeah. Iron Hands are really cool before their Primarch dies. The issue is Horus Heresy era 30k. Their Primarch is very dead.
Yeah. He dies on page 2 of the Horus Heresy, basically.
Yeah.
It's gone immediately.
So...
all the characters in the game that we have, except maybe, I don't know about Cardosia. I don't know anything about him. But the 4 that we started with are all dead.
Yeah.
All of them are gone.
Yeah, actually, now I think about it, all their warlords, because I think Cardosia dies during
I wouldn't be surprised. He has to die at some point. They all die.
Well, he's a dreadnought, so...
But, this guy, he's got bitter memories.
Most of the characters are dead, but Sanguinius and Horus live to the end of the Horus Heresy, right? Where we are, quote-unquote, in the plot of the game.
Yeah.
The Iron Hands have been dead since pretty much Arrival. because they die almost as soon as they come into the scene in 30K.
Even
right?
the Salamander warlords live longer than the Iron Hands warlords. It's true.
Okay, Cardosia is still alive, so we got that going for us. He actually was not at Ishvan 3 or 5. That's why he survived.
Makes sense.
He was somewhere else at the time, and then he learned everyone died, and he went, "Oh fuck!"
Oh fuck!
Like what?
Oh,
It's just me.
oh, he's in the Korax anthology. That's who this guy is.
Okay. So,
I was trying to remember where I heard Cardosia before.
Yeah, like he looks cool and he's kind of fun, but I don't know who the hell he was.
His lore is, "I'm going to go do the thing," and then he flew off into the sunset, and that's the last we've heard of him.
No, fair enough. Santar had fun lore. I like Santar's lore.
Santar died from one of the possible worst ways to die in 40K.
it was pretty graphic. It was pretty good.
And I mean the worst way is in he stabbed the dude in the balls, the guy liked it, and then Santar got confused. No, he stabbed the guy in the chest, the guy liked it, Santar got confused, and then got stabbed in the balls.
And
Jesus.
it, like ripped open by lightning claws, like from groin to clavicle.
Like, that's not good.
Yeah.
Rip Santar.
If I'm not mistaken,
That was after he had already gotten his butt handed to him by the same guy, and then Ferris rebuilt him. He's like, "Don't worry, we're gonna go get those Empress children. You'll get them next time, champ." Didn't happen.
if I'm not mistaken, Santar really didn't like Duquesne either, which is fair because Duquesne is an ass in the game and in the lore. But like Duquesne is just too old fashioned. We need to get stuff done. Like, I want to get stuff done with Santar. And then you have Duquesne like, "Oh, we're Iron Hands. We have to die and do nothing. We suck." Well, I get it.
So
Duquesne is one of the examples of all the Legion's Terran members just kind of still being alive when everyone gets reunited and just running their show the way they want it.
He's the boomer of the group. I get it.
it's true.
Yeah, essentially.
Well, the Iron Hands have got a lot of vehicles, which is something that Secret Orders don't work on. Before we get done talking, or before we get to the tactics, our top cards, or favorite cards of the Alpha Legion, I do really think there's a lot of cause for them to do Secret Orders working on vehicles. My biggest argument for that point is Talon. If you read the story of Talon, there's a couple entries there, but the Alpha Legion were present on Talon before the Iron Warriors destroyed it. But they were also present there after the fact, and they were kind of instrumental in having various tank companies either maneuver or deploy or let enemies slip through security nets, and really kind of like, through the course of using their operatives in the tank crews to manipulate or turn a blind eye, allowed for some cities and port and places of refuge to be taken or destroyed. Not to mention, obviously, just the obvious like sabotaging of a vehicle, or doing something where basically this doesn't work the way we thought it would because somebody put this ammo in backwards, something like that. I would like to see, and it would just be a simple change to allow Secret Orders to be played on vehicles. And that would take one component out of the frustrations of playing the Dingo Pack, because sometimes that can be a problem. And it really shouldn't be. Demons, I can understand that. I can understand demons. But
demons are pretty loyal to being bad, but vehicles, it's got to have a crew.
If we can stretch it to say, well, they can work on Custodes because maybe they got the wrong orders, then I don't see why we couldn't stretch that to tanks.
I'd honestly rather than take it away from Custodes and then apply it to tanks instead, or vehicles instead. Like, I can see Custodes not being affected by that. Like, I'm not going to listen to anybody else but my commanding officer.
Mind you, if you look at examples like the burning of Prospero, they did just get orders, went, this is probably real, and just went with it. So, I think working on them.
I mean, so in the Alfarius Primarch book, Alfarius takes on the appearance of the Custodes and issues commands and everything, and goes through almost the entire Imperial Palace as a Custodes. So it could totally make sense. And not only that,
you also got to remember, Alfarius is very fucking tall, and Alfarius, like his normal.
He's short. He's short.
He's short, but he's okay. He's short, but he's still 9 feet tall. We need to
fair enough. He's a Primarch. He's short,
compared to his brothers. So I can see the logic of it working and it not working. I also really hate their tag system in general because it's so inconsistent and doesn't make sense. Like one thing's a vehicle and the other's an infantry when they're the exact same item. They have an example of that in the Mechanicum faction that I always complain about.
Well, I mean, to be fair, like some of the beasts, right? Like the beast of Pythos is
the beasts are infantry.
It's really just a dinosaur. Like it's
yeah.
But you can give that a secret order.
Well,
keywords are keywords, I guess.
Yeah, but
in 40K, vehicles are alive. I mean, they have machine spirits and stuff that can be interacted with as seen in Night Lord's trilogy.
Seduce the Land Raider into shooting the Warlord.
Well, yeah, that's the thing. All of them have their AI, which falls to chaos itself. So secret orders should just work.
Mm-hmm.
I'm still upset. Salik's cohort is both an infantry and a vehicle in this game, even though it's like a dreadnought. So it really should be neither.
Oh,
Why is it doesn't make sense. There is more meat in a dreadnought than there is a Salik's cohort, but Salik's cohort's an infantry. I'm upset. I want my dreadnoughts to be infantry so I can turn them into demons.
That's GW approved, man. That's GW approved.
That doesn't mean I have to agree with it, Scuff.
Well, as far as the Alpha Legion card pool goes, besides the Warlords, I mean, there's a lot of good stuff there. Personally, anything trap related, I just pass over, but that's just me.
Yep.
I know some people have traps, preferences to traps. But what would you guys say are your top three cards, top three favorite cards of the Alpha Legion card pool?
Okay, I want to put Harrowing at the top simply for the sake of it being harrowing, but I want to give it to Ghost Legionary. Because before Lectidio Divinalis got nerfed, man, that was a fun. Just dropping Ghost Legionary, even on curve, is very fun. But dropping it and then playing even like one Lectidio, though I'd go for two, can really just put a damper in any plan. So yeah, Ghost Legionary, one of many because it's the most unique card in their card pool, really. They're the only faction that can you can swap your Warlord mid-game. And I have to think of the last one, actually. I may just give it to Harrowing simply because the Harrowing is a dick move, and I love it. It's Axel's take. A troop and two tactics.
I'm actually going to go through the card pool real quick. I'll take a look. I'll let somebody else go before me, I guess.
So I would have to rank the new guy, the 3-drop stealth, when your opponent attacks with damage to the Warlord. That's easily become my favorite card, and I'm starting to put it in almost every deck. After that, I have to agree with one of many simply because it's unique and everything. And Lambda Thunderhawk. I mean, I can't run an Alpha Legion deck without Lambda Thunderhawk.
Another very good card.
Okay. You know what? I'm going to start with hot take number 3. I think Gamma Order is probably my favorite Alpha Legion card. Obviously, it's amazing for what it does, but it's what it scares your opponent into doing or not doing that makes me love the Gamma Order so much. Like I actually put them in the deck, and I put the Rhinos in the deck, typically when I play Alpha Legion to copy, hopefully, the Gamma Order before I draw, so I can spam things. I just love it. And then this gets into the whole cerebral gameplay of orders anyway. But like the Gamma Order is just so much fun. One of many is an easy choice, but I'm gonna go with Pale Spear, just for the nostalgia of it. Like when Pale Spear was good, I ran that card up to almost 4,800 on the ladder, and it was what it was. But after it went away, I kind of just moved into practice because the ladder upset me anyway. So once they took away my preferred deck, I was like, you know what, this isn't even fun. I'm not gonna play something unfun with cards I don't want to play. So I kind of moved away from ladder. And then third, it's between Heroine and Score. No, you know what? No, it isn't. It's the Instrument. That card is hilarious. That card is...
Oh, yeah. The Instrument's a lot of fun.
That card is amazing. Like, it's... I'm pretty sure it's the sniper rifle of Exodus. That's what the Instrument actually is.
Yeah, the Instrument's the name of Exodus sniper rifle, but then the art doesn't play into that at all. So I think when they say the Instrument, they're trying to say the Instrument of Betrayal or something, but it's just confusing with Alpha Legion, the way it's supposed to be.
Like, I remember one game. Like, I remember one game that I was playing with. It was actually against another Trader's End member, and it was in one of the events where Exodus was a warlord, and it was early in the draft system. So it was myself as Exodus versus my opponent as Exodus, and he had Ghost Legionary down next to his warlord. And I kept stunning this thing, and I kept drawing cards, finding ways to draw cards. And by the end of it, it was like 18, 19 or whatever. And then I hit him with the instrument. And he messaged me because that whole side of the board was full. So the Legionnaire was next to the Warlord, and then it had 2 things to the left of it. So he couldn't block it. And after the game, he was like, 5 turns back, I knew what you were doing. And I could not stop it from happening. I love that card. So that's top 3. Gamma Order, Hail Spear for the nostalgia, Instrument for the memes.
Man. I didn't include any legendaries in mine because I love all the except their infantry guy, Bronzy. Yeah, that's the only one I can't say is my favorite because they're all great.
Yeah,
I love the Alpha Legion card pool, man.
I like the instrument is definitely even in games that it's not useful, because if you're playing a mono warlord, that is only going to maybe you can instrument a sleeper operative, but that's really, or you can use the instrument to buy yourself a turn with the stunning the warlord, but it's not great. But it changes when your opponent has to change how they play their troops because they know, oh well, he might instrument me. Like you're already on the right path, and I do like using that as a finisher. Way more satisfying than the harrowing as a finisher. For me, it's the instrument. The Lambda Thunderhawk is just the best. 5 energy, 4 damage, stun 3 things, and which gives you more time to do more fun things. And then I agree. I think that new troop, that 3 energy stealth troop, is just really good. The downside for the Alpha Legion is, aside from 2 troops that have a built-in stat buff, they don't have any way to buff their stuff, so you can't capitalize on that stealth troop and give them a Agent of the Sigilate type deal, Chosen of the Sigilate. That'd be fantastic. But the fact that he immediately throws off, you play him at the right time, your opponent's gonna be like, oh, I don't really want to attack now because I'm going to be taking some damage on my warlord, or I'm going to take some damage on my warlord anyways. I guess it's just going to be a little bit more. That just is nice, and I thought that was a really nice card. And it's a rare, right? I think it's
it's common.
It's a common. Even better. So
even better.
Yeah. So I mean, I think it's hard because there's a lot of good stuff that all performs well in the deck that you want to use it in, whether it's secret orders, whether it's traps, whether it's the stuns. Even their troops, even if you're just playing troops, I like playing troops and then having them do things. Even if it's just the 4/4 that makes a secret order that I can throw out later on if I need to, or the 5/5 that gives can attack, or a 5/5 that gets stronger every time a tactic's played. Your opponent has to respond to those, and sometimes that in itself is the misdirection of playing the Alpha Legion, because they're thinking, oh, he's going to be playing traps, or oh, he's playing, and then all of a sudden you start playing troops that they normally don't see, and you're just playing troops Alpha Legion. That's all you're doing. But that can confuse the crap out of people.
Troop Alpha Legion's fun, though.
It is. It's good.
People sleeping on Troop Alpha Legion.
It is.
If I had to pick not legendary and not tactics for a favorite card, hot take number 4, baby, Legion Glaive. I absolutely love that card.
I love that tank.
In Lodge Lords 4, my opponent was playing Angron, and so my deck was like, I need to get Legion Glaive out, right? As fast as possible, because it stops the Conqueror the turn that it comes out.
Yep.
And Angron, he has to run into the 10-10 frontline tank. And the only way to get around that is just to play Jam on it. But even if you do that, it's still a 10-10.
The World Eater faction does have a way to counter it, but if someone runs Sedition's Gate as World Eater, I'll be surprised.
Well, because Sedition's Gate would become, 6? So you would need to play something... you could play the 1-2 guy.
You would need
a scout.
Yeah, you would need an infantry, because... Did you drop it discounted? I forgot if you mentioned that. Because you didn't. If you dropped it, you needed a 4 energy troop and below. But you're banking on Sedition's Gate. That never happens in World Eaters.
And a really, really cheap troop. And even then, you're pushing it, depending on when you get the glaive out. Because the point of the deck in the Lodge Wars was to play old supply lines, drop it, and hopefully get an asteroid belt off. So drop it at his 6 energy. So he has basically nothing he can do, and then boom, Legion Glaive. I love that troop. And then maybe Covert Support, because of how unique and fun it is.
Yeah. The Alpha Legions have a really unique design philosophy.
Best design Legion in the game, baby. Back to hot take number 1.
I think that's a solid take, though. I don't know if it's a hot take. I think it's a solid take. Granted, it depends on how you look at it. Obviously, we're talking about options as far as the faction, how they give player options. They're not one sided by any means. There literally is multiple heads of the Hydra, and I'm looking forward to where the fifth world is going to be. I'm going to keep playing Alpha Legion just as my passive deck that I play sometimes.
Yeah.
Whether they're great or not, they're fun to play. They're no game is the same. And Alpha Legion mirrors are some of the most crazy mirrors because it really you could have the same cards in the deck, but sometimes it doesn't matter when you're playing Alpha Legion versus Alpha Legion because it's going to be who gets what off. Now you're doing one of many. Now you're copying my copy cards. Now I've got more operatives than you. It's really crazy.
It's good.
So with the total look at the faction, at the Alpha Legion as they are in the game, how would you rate them on a scale of 1 to 10? Whether it be power, performance, or adaptation, lore to game, just your personal score.
Ooh, even if I don't play them that much, and they ebb and flow with the meta, and really just Exodus works, I'm gonna give them a good 8. I really like playing them when I do.
Yeah, I mean, I'm gonna give it a 10 for sure. I mean, they're like the only faction I play. I think I have over 1,000 games with Exodus, several hundred with Peck and everything. And then lore wise, I mean, so lore wise, I'd actually rate it like a 7, simply because there's so many options for characters that they could use that they're not using, and instead using characters like Exodus that have very, very minimal lore. And I don't believe pop up in any book. Not in any of the books I've read. I've read every single book that has Alpha Legion as a primary character in it leading up to this, and I did not see any Exodus. I saw everybody else, but yeah, it's probably like a 7 for lore and then 10 for gameplay because they are just simply my favorite.
How'd you feel about Praetorian of Dorn?
I loved it. I don't think it was my absolute favorite Alpha Legion book, but it was definitely up there. And apart from Alfarius dying, I thought it was all great.
That's the thing with Alfarius, though. They're like a hive mind in his entire legion, so he can just die. That's fine.
I know some people didn't because they thought it was kind of dry or whatever, but I liked it, number one, because it was the first book we really got with the Imperial Fists. But it also had the Alpha Legion, and they were both done really well. You got to see both do their stuff very well. And I really like, as frustrating as it is, I like how it ended, because really it ends with the question, like, what was the whole point? What was the play? Like, ultimately, why did he do this? And I like that because, so, like I said, like the heresy stuff, when it turns something on its head, or it makes you think, besides just like point A to point B, like, what was the point? Was he trying to reason with Dorn? Was he trying to prepare Dorn? Was he trying to break Dorn ahead of time? Was he truly loyal? What was the whole point? What was he going to say if he had the time to say? Or did he knew exactly what he was doing? Whether that was Alfarius 100% or not. Like, there's so much stuff that goes in there, and you look back to the story and through the things, and it puts that relationship in a different light, as well as anything else that happens with the Alpha Legion after that point. Because definitely from that point on, Omegon throws down the spear, he's done, type of situation. Like, the Alpha Legion's involvement shifts completely because of that. But was that the point too? I don't know.
Have you got a chance to read the Alfarius Primarch book, Scott?
Not yet.
That just came out. Scott's going in the order.
Yeah.
So also try not to spoil too many things, because,
Okay. I won't spoil it too much. I will say that he does reflect on the conversation that took place in Praetorian of Dorn in the flashback with Arcanus. When Dorn and Alfarius spoke, he does reflect back on that and speak to some of the things that Dorn said, and I think it would give you a better idea as to the reasons to why he did what he did.
Yeah.
Just returning to Masterwalks' comment before, I'm kind of curious what character you would have wanted to see, because my lore knowledge is probably the most limited amongst this group. It certainly is. It was 100% the most limited. So I'm kind of curious, what character would you have wanted to see besides Exodus, or excluding Exodus?
Silonius. Silonius played a huge part in lore. I think he was in
He was in
It
Praetorian
was
Adorn.
Yeah, he was Praetorian Adorn. Yeah, absolutely. And he's also mentioned a couple times in other books. I think he would actually take a great part as being an Exodus. With a big, powerful attack. Like having the ability to use the Primarch power. I think he'd have the ability to do a big, powerful attack. Plus, the Sarlonius art is pretty cool. I mean, I think his artwork looks really cool. Just like a plain legionary, but with a crested helm.
Yeah. All right.
Well, how would you rate the faction as a whole, Shay?
Obviously, I want to give it a 10. And in terms of design, I think it is a 10. In terms of balance and to the lore, I mean, I'm not, like I said, I'm not really that knowledgeable on the lore. I know that, screwing around and messing with people and having lots of schemes, that's the play. And there's the whole, We Are Alfarius meme that is captured quite well. So from my very limited, shallow perspective, I think they've done a good job translating the spirit of the Alpha Legion into the game. Where Alpha Legion loses marks, I think, is balance. Because whenever the Alpha Legion are good, they're probably too good, with the exception of the anti-meta trap pick. But when they're on the top, it's like, holy crap, the Alpha Legion are just frustrating. And then when they're not, it's like, they're okay. So overall, I guess I'll give them a 9 or an 8. Right? Like, I love the Alpha Legion. But, their time in the competitive sun, I think, it's been past for a while. There's still a place for them. They can still play really well. Exodus still gets work done. But, the good old days are gone, I think, for the Alpha Legion. In my opinion. So, I'll give them a 9.
Yeah, at least for the time being. I mean, all it takes is sometimes just a simple balance patch and things come back. But I give them a 9, kind of for the same reasons, except I find, personally, I think they are always a solid pick in tournaments. Like, just the fact that
yes.
Some factions / warlords are always going to perform well. And they do. It doesn't matter who your matchup is. It doesn't matter the format of the tournament. They are flexible by design. Their deck options are flexible. You can do a variety of things with them. You don't even have to do Alpha Legion if you really don't want to. Just have an Alpha Legion warlord. I just think that they work really well in that regard. Learning curve might be a little frustrating depending on what players want to do with it. Because it isn't something like you can't just come in, I'll just run traps, I'll just run skirmers. Like, you got to know what you're doing. But if you know what you're doing, the lethalness of the faction is amplified tenfold. You can't do traps on, or you can't do secret orders on demons, but if you stun and possess certain key cards, that's almost as effective, if not more. I've won games against Kabanda with Ingo Peck because of having a pocket possess and knowing how to play around and then finally get to the instrument or harrowing to finish it off. So, I mean, it can be done, and those victories feel really good when they happen, but that's the exception. So, yeah, I mean, I can't give it a 10. I don't really think any faction is a 10. No. But I do really think that they score higher for me, especially because of their flexibility and their ability to be played well at tournaments, as well as the adaptation and what they brought to the game. Before they were added to the game, the closest thing you had to it was Korax going into stealth. That was it. I'll get out of combat this one turn because I'll stealth. That was all you really had. And then suddenly the game added options where now I can mess with your hand, I can mess with your energy costs, I can punish you for having too many cards in your hand, I can stun you repeatedly as opposed to the 3 or 4 cards that did stun. It was just so much opened up as a result of the faction being added to the game, and I really think that they just have been a solid addition since.
You can really tell that EG had a lot of fun designing them too. It really feels that way because again, they've packed so many different ways to play into what is it, 40 cards, 35 cards. Whereas other legions, again, Sons of Horus or White Scars, for another example, it really feels like there's only one deck, maybe 2 for those legions, whereas the Alpha Legion have got 4, maybe 5. It's just I think EG was at their best with the Alpha Legion, and I think it shows.
Yeah, I'd agree.
I agree as well. Well, when we're not talking about Alpha Legion, when we're not talking about Legions, when we're not playing Legions, what is it that you guys do? Masterwalks. What do you do when you're not playing Legions?
Well, I'm actually painting a Necron right now to look like something from one of the books I read. That's pretty much what I do. I also got dogs. I like my dogs.
Hey, that's always good.
Yeah.
I'm a single parent, and I am a law student, so I'm either looking after a child, looking after my schoolwork, or I am trying to play some game of some kind to, I guess, relax. So, yeah, no, I'm busy, not much.
That's fair.
All right. Well, with all that being said, do you guys have anything you'd like to plug while you're here?
Do we declare war on Quebec again?
The war in Quebec has since been postponed because I think I also declared war on Arizona several times.
Oh my God! You know what? I was thinking about Arizona today because of the daylight savings times.
That's why I declared war on them.
They don't do it. That's chaos. They are chaos neutral.
In fact, now that I think about it, we might have come like a full year round since the last time I declared war on Arizona. So I may as well do it again. Do your fucking daylight savings. Stop confusing me.
Follow the country, man. Like, it's just the United States. Like, I'm Canadian, so I look at the differences between the states, and I just kind of go, how the hell do you manage that? How do you keep track of that?
Right now, the conversation is, I think, a 50-50 split for Canadians and Americans. I assume you're also American, Masterwalk?
Yes.
Okay, so yeah, it's an even 50-50 split. So we'll just take our side of the room where we'll fight Quebec, naturally.
That is way above average for Canadians, 50-50 split. Like, there's not very many of us.
No, there's like 4 of us, and we're in Ontario.
There's like 5 Legion players that are Canadian.
I think you got a half dozen. You got a good half dozen of Canadian.
I mean, if you want to count Quebec as Canada, which hot take number 6, I don't. You've got Leahy, you've got LCFR.
Lucy is in Ontario, and so is Pirate.
And
Pirate is Quebec. Pirate is Quebec, isn't he?
Yeah, he's from there, but he escaped.
Okay, let's hope. But who else is there? Shadow something.
There's Shadow Sloth and Grumpy Ghosts.
Yeah. There's myself, my brother, obviously. So yeah, maybe there's like 10 Canadian players.
We have the numbers.
We have.
Is that enough for a hockey team?
No. You need like good 30 people for a hockey team. You got to replace broken players regularly.
Yeah,
it's just natural.
I mean, 10 Canadians is enough to keep the game somewhat polite. I'm not saying that I'm polite, but it averages out better.
Of course.
So okay, we'll declare war on Arizona today. That's my plug. Fix your daylight savings times. Whatever, daylight saving time.
Get with the program.
I know how to pronounce it.
Get with the program.
Get with the program. Like, it's literally the time of the day. Like, you gotta have that consistent, man.
How about you, Masterwalks? Plug in anything.
I don't have anything to plug. The Gazcool book is out. I'm a big Orc fan as well as Alpha Legion, so it just came out yesterday. It's really good so far. I'm on chapter 3. There's a lot of cool stuff. It's fun.
I'll have to check that out. I forgot a new Orc book dropped.
All right.
And I guess I'm going to do the regular old plug, and I'm going to plug my boy Dornstash. He does art. He drew my profile picture. He drew Shay's profile picture.
He drew Scuffs.
He draws. He's good at
Meowmeisters. Mine's better than Scuffs.
It's true. Wow. I mean, you've got your Meowmeister pick there. I could put mine, but I like my deck slots Dreadnought better. So
the Ancient of Deck Slots is a pretty good one.
And I'm going to plug deck slots. It's going to happen. So if you want to get an awesome PFP or any art, Dornstash, Drew Lee Clark on Instagram.
Yep, there it is. I was going to say, you cut me off before I could do it, but we got it.
Yep.
Oh, it's a good plug, man. That's a good plug. Dorn, like, my picture's amazing. It's Fabius Bio enhancing Sardorian's Terminators or whatever with wings, which is what happened in the Bar Knight Legions that I won. I got unstoppable, and I ran over some front lines, and I won the game. It's a reference. It's quite good.
It's a callback.
Dornstash gets my plug. Dornstash gets my plug, too. Yep. Plug times 3.
All right. Well, there you go. That's that, and that is a solid... That's a double Meowmeister plug. Axel, you got to get Meowmeister so we can make it a triple Meowmeister.
I'm going to use it with defense sets. I'm going to do it with defense sets.
Yeah, that's the only way that you're going to get it at this point.
There's never been a rule set where def sats wasn't allowed.
But Scuff wishes there was.
I know. Well, I'm going to
the next rule set is just no def sats. Everything goes but def sats.
Def sats.
And word bearers. I'm not allowed demon hosts anymore.
And then ironically, Axel wins without his crush.
Without the 2 cards.
Listen, word bearer demon host has always done good for me during Meowdmeister, and so has or Meowd tournament, whatever. I need to lay down. And Death Stats has always worked. So I can't use it anymore.
High rolls. High rolls. Well,
I'm a lucky man.
I'm going to plug the Bar Night Legions because we got Bar Night Legions this March 26th. That is going to be taking place. It's our Dirty 30. It's our 30th Barroom Brawl. The theme of that tournament basically is your Warlord has to have 30 hit points. Survivor is not allowed, so don't think about Numian. Don't think about Medusan or any of those guys. Those guys are out. And then every
can't
card,
play any of the Alpha Legion.
Any of your card has in your deck have got to either be divisible by 3, so that's 3, 6, 9 energy, or 0 energy cards. Drilling Sight is the only card that's not included in that list. It's banned. Should be fun. Bar Night Legions.
And we play Dynat.
No.
He's got.
Well, that was the one chance for Dynat to be good, and it's ruined.
That's it. I was like, listen, it's too good.
Dynat's out. Dynat's too good.
Harrowing is 9 energy. I was like, no, I can't allow it. And you can't play the hammer because you can't play Medusan. See, I knew what I was doing. Alpha Legion all the way.
Scuff used his brain.
That's why Bar Night Legion is the best tournament. It's just so well thought out every single time.
It truly is. And we get some hot messes sometimes that just get really fun to play. Also, I'm going to be doing the Steam stream on the 19th. So there's 3 more promo codes I have to give away for 1,000 gold. So if you're listening to that and you're on the Steam Community Hub at 8 p.m. U.S. Central Time on the 19th, hop on, challenge me, and win. Either A, be a prestige player and show me that you've got a premium card and win, and you'll get 1,000 gold, or just be under level 100 and play a Galaxy and Flame card and win, and you'll get 1,000 gold. It's pretty simple this time around, but should be fun. Yeah. Got 3 promo codes to give away. We'll be playing until they're all gone. We've got the Decklist Contest that goes until the 25th of this month. Deadline is for the Decklist Contest. First place is 1,000 gold. Second place is 500. Third place is 300. The Decklist theme is duelists for this month. We're getting already gotten more submissions than last month, which is great. So keep those submissions coming in. I like to give away free gold. I like to plug deck slots. I like to play games. This is all good stuff. Oh, and Twitch. I'm on Twitch now. Twitch, I'm just doing general games. I'm playing Legions, but I'm also going to be playing all sorts of 40k games. Battlefleet Gothica, Gothic Armada 2, Mechanicum, Necromunda Higher. Just whenever I want to step away from Legions, I'll definitely be trying to do that a little bit more on Twitch. But I'll probably be streaming on Twitch too, so you can check that out. That's Scuff_D on Twitch. Feel free to check it out and see if I'm playing anything. I've only got a couple things up right now, but we're getting there. I finally am making the transition. I don't know if I like it yet, but I figured I should let people know that that's a place you can find me as well.
Tag me when you play Mechanicum, man. That game is so good. I absolutely love Mechanicum. Or Mechanicus.
I'm going to be playing that soon, and also I'm looking forward to the Grey Knights one that's coming out. Was it Chaos Gate or something like that? Where it's basically the same idea, but with Grey Knights. I'm gonna be doing that.
There's also that Battle Sector game.
Battle Sector sucks.
Yeah, it's
not great. No. It got a recent big change to it. That's pretty good, and Necrons are in the game. It's not bad. It's pretty solid.
Oh, but it's maybe maybe I'll have to revisit it.
It's just
there's now Necrons
and Blood Angels and Tyranids, isn't it?
And Tyranids. Yeah, they're adding more as time goes on, but the new campaign's actually pretty solid. It's kind of a throwback to like Dawn of War's Dark Crusade campaign.
Okay, I might have to check it out. Although I might.
I always recommend waiting for a sale. Yeah, always wait for a sale for a Games Workshop game because of course
they're so bad.
All right.
Well, I appreciate you guys having me on.
Yeah, I appreciate
pleasure
you guys
as always.
Making it and sitting down, talking about some Alpha Legion, talking about some cards, some lore, whatever else we end up talking about. I appreciate you guys sitting through 3 minutes and 19 seconds of the world debut of the Alfarius cut.
Of pain.
That's a top 50.
It's better than Lord. It's a low bar, but it's better than Lord.
That's true. I'll take it. All right, well, that's it for me, you guys. Thank you for joining us, and thank you, everybody, for listening for 50 episodes. 50 episodes spectacular concludes. Bye.
Bye.
It ends here.
This has been another episode of the Warp Chatter Podcast. Thank you for listening.
I can't help but appreciate your talents.
It was inspiring.
I need some wood.